Hi, it's Martin here from Mullers Boxing Media with our next guest, Hannah Rankin. Hannah, thank you very much for giving some of your time, and I do apologise about the technical issues.
No worries. We can't all be tech wizards, and I'm definitely not one myself, so no stress there.
As we were chatting off air. What an opportunity for yourself, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. There was a big fight there a couple of weeks ago. AJ the King, Anthony Joshua versus Usyk, and now we're going to have the Queen, Hannah Rankin, in an IBO. Hopefully, you can regain the IBO title that you previously had, and the is it WBA?
WBA, yeah.
And WBA, and we can add to that list. What an opportunity it is for you, Hannah.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely stoked about this. I cannot wait. And it'll be like a last fought in March. So it's the longest I've been out the ring, like for a proper fight. I don't count the exhibition fight I did with Hannah Bagley, but it's the longest I've been out the ring because I'm normally a very active fighter. So for me, I'm just buzzing to get back under those lights. And the fact that I'm headlining the show is just a really special thing as well. So 2 world titles on the line, headlining the show, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Couldn't be better, really.
No, totally agree. Well, I was at the press conference yesterday with Jack, and I spoke with Dennis and Steve. And the ideas that they have for Fight Zone are unbelievable. And for any upcoming fighter, it's a platform that they've got to jump on board. But the fact is they're already bringing world titles. We've got the IBO for Jack, and we've got the IBO and the WBA for yourself. Then you signing for Fight Zone has got to be the best thing that you've possibly done.
Yeah, so I fought a welterweight in March, and I was going to stick around welterweight, and then Dennis came about with the whole Fight Zone idea and spoke to my manager Sam Kinnock and said, "Oh, we'd love Hannah to headline a show for a world title on Fight Zone." And you can't ask for anything better than the opportunity to sign with somebody for the first time. They're putting 2 world titles on the line for your very first fight with them, and on Fight Zone, which I always think is a fantastic platform. It was like an absolute no-brainer. I was like, I'll take it. 5th of November, I'm there.
Yeah, no, what 100%. When did you find out about the fight? Like, have you already been in camp?
I've known about the fight for a while now, because I was meant to fight on the Fight Zone card that happened up in Hamilton in Scotland. I was meant to be joining all the lads there, but because this opportunity came up for later on, we were like, okay, well, I won't go on that one, and I'll wait it out a bit longer so I can do this fight on the 5th, because it's obviously for the world titles. So in summer, in July, it was end of July 31st. They were talking about this. We were starting to put things together, but I was doing the commentary then instead, and now everything's starting to come together now, which is great.
Safer side of the ropes.
Yeah.
The commentary, safer side of the ropes.
Absolutely.
Looking back at some of your opponents, let's be honest, you fought some decent level. Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall. Savannah, I think she's an unbelievable fighter, and I think we were speaking off air. Like the fight that you had with Savannah last year was unbelievable.
It was a great fight, and I think people really enjoyed it. Actually, it was a very smart move by Eddie to have female, like, high level fights on his cards, because it really got people involved in women's boxing. We also won Dramatic Fight of the Year from the WBC for that one. So yeah, it was a barnstormer.
And the thing is, one of the questions that the viewers have asked is, putting Clarissa against Savannah. You probably knew this question was going to come.
I knew this question. This question comes up every time for me.
Who would you say gets the nod?
So for me, I say Clarissa gets the win. Having been in with both of them, I'm backing Clarissa for the win for this one. I'm not going to say why, and I won't say to give anybody clues, but hopefully someone will get me on to do the comms for that fight. That'd be wicked. I'm backing Clarissa all the way for that one.
Okay, fantastic.
Great fight for women's boxing, though.
The what? Sorry.
It'd be a fantastic fight for women's boxing. Like, it's the middleweight division for us is middleweight, super middleweight, kind of like our heavyweight division. So it's like the really exciting fights, like the big fights, equivalent to the sort of heavyweights and the guys, I would say.
Well, that's the thing with women boxing, and we've got to be honest. About 4 or 5 years ago, there was gaps in the women division. There was there was some serious gaps. Like you'd have a title holder, and then there'd be like a weight division where there wasn't anything going on. And over the past 5 years, women's boxing, I don't like to say women's boxing. I think it's equal. I think men's and women's boxing is equal. But the sport for you guys is growing so much because you don't know how to put on a boring fight. Literally, you do not know how to put on a boring fight. Put it this way, I would never ask a female boxer to do the dishes in my house because they know how to fight.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I can see that. And I think actually for us, ironically, the pandemic was a really helpful thing for us because it meant that we had a captive audience stuck at home. So when Eddie decided to put some of the female fights on the matchroom cards in his fight camp set up, it meant that we had people watching us that would never normally have had the chance to watch us, or had the chance to go, oh, it's a chicks fight, we'll go to the bar. Instead, this time they're actually stuck at home, so they got to watch. And I think the general person, maybe not even the boxing fan, but like Joe Blogs or whatever, they actually really enjoy it because it's very fast paced. Like women's boxing is a sprint from start to finish, and we're so determined to put on a show for people. I think like you said, it's never a boring fight, and it's a million miles an hour because it's only 2-minute rounds. So things just happen really fast, which I think people quite enjoy.
Well, the thing is, with a 3-minute round, you can kind of get yourself into that. You probably sparred in 3 minutes, so you probably know what it's like, and you can kind of get yourself into the round. And then even if you have a bad start to the round, you've still got 2 minutes to win that round. Whereas 2-minute round, if you have a bad start for the first minute, you're on you clock watching. You've got to, and that's exactly what they do. Would you?
I mean, I would love 3-minute rounds. I would love to have 3-minute rounds. I'm a 3-minute round fighter. It would suit me down to a T. And I know I personally feel that it'd be great to have 3-minute rounds brought in to the women's game. I mean, there'd be no discrepancies between what the guys do, what the girls do. But at the moment, the argument is that for safety reasons, we have to do 2 minutes. But I think as a compromise, maybe even 12 twos, something like that, but because for world title fights, because at the moment, like a Commonwealth and a world title fight is the same length. So for us, we don't have that differentiation. And I think we need that to keep the sport growing for women. But at the moment, it's still the same. So hopefully that will change in the future. But fingers crossed. Hopefully in my time. That'd be great.
Or when you're commentating, so you can commentate. So you that was a question that was asked, like, what would be your thoughts towards 3 minutes? Just so, like you said, just so you can be on the same playing level as the guys, because let's be honest, you never see at the end of a female fight where they're out on the knees. Do you know what I mean? They've always got that little bit more, like, because they train as hard as any of the guys out there. But like you said, the 2-minute rounds, you're kind of having 10 minutes off.
Yeah, I mean, we
not 10 minutes off as in a bad way. I'm just saying that's what it is.
It's 10 minutes less, but I think sometimes when you watch some of the guys' fights, I definitely think some of them could do some 2-minute rounds, because a minute of that round, they're dancing around doing nothing, like I would kill to have that minute to set things up, put things in place, it'd be really nice. And but it's a different thing to look at. You're working a bit faster. You haven't got the liberty of the extra time, so you've got to be quicker about it. And like I said, it's a sprint, so it's such a high pace for us and our recovery and things has to be on point, because it's 2 minutes flat out, then a minute, and then 2 minutes you go again. But I would like to have 3-minute rounds. I think it would be good, and also I think it would get more of those sort of finishes that people would like to see in boxing, because women's boxing doesn't have that many big like knockouts or stoppages or anything like that. Because we get through the 2 minutes and then recover. And if like the different levels and things, there'll be people that would have been stopped in fights. Like when I've had fights, I would have stopped people if I just had 10 seconds more. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit frustrating, but yeah, no, it's exciting for people to watch. So I can't complain when fans are tuning in. Not going to complain.
And what would you say behind the fight zones? behind the fight zone, with it being app based as well, $4.99, to absolute bargain. I need to watch watch boxing.
I know. I mean, like, you can't ask for anything really better. $4.99. That's cheaper than 2 pints here in London. It's expensive down here. Pardon?
It's cheaper than one.
It depends what you buy. But yeah, no, I would just think it's a fantastic price to have the option to watch British talent right from the very beginning of their careers, and actually them getting some airtime is fantastic because it's going to really help grow the sport. I think people can get to know people from their debut as they go through their career. And instead of that situation where we normally have, we don't see people coming on the scene until they've had like the sort of 10 fights in, and then they get like maybe go into a matchroom contract so they get some time on TV. So this is such a forward-thinking plan, and it also gets people kind of to know the fighters a bit, because they get interviews afterwards. Some of them do some commentary like myself, so people get to kind of know your personality. They get to be able to go, what I like about that person is, and it will help you sell tickets as well. It's just a bonus.
Yeah, no, definitely. Some part of me is thinking that Dennis Hobson's actually with you now, telling you what to say, because during the press conference yesterday, that's exactly what Dennis says. There's people out there that get records of like 9 and 10, and let's be honest, they're not really in competitive fights, and then they'll get signed by a big contract, and then before you know it, they're fighting on TV, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
I think, definitely. It must be like, personally, like obviously with my sort of people that I fought and listed things, like I wouldn't be wanting to get to my 10th professional fight and not having had a really big step up. Do you know what I mean? But I don't have as many people in my division to be able to wait 10 fights and have 10 kind of learning fights. It just doesn't work like that for the girls. But the real special thing about Fight Zone is that actually I feel it's kind of like, it's a platform about the fighters and for the fighters. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're encouraged to take those sort of 50-50 fights, but they'll back you, so you go in there, you put on an epic show, but you don't get the nod. Dennis is supporting you, get you straight back out there and get another fight and get you back on track. And I think that's really forward thinking for a promoter. It just means it's a much healthier way to look at the sport as well, in my opinion, because I think when you look at things like UFC, for example, the fighters, it's the best fight the best all the time. That's what happens in UFC, and whereas here, you go in and you take a loss, and it can mean that you feel like you have to rebuild your career completely again, because a loss means like, the end of the world in boxing. But that shouldn't be the case. We should have more of the top fighters fighting each other, because that's what it's about at the end. It's about fighting. And if you love what you do, then you should want to get in there and challenge yourself against other fighters who are of top level quality. So I think it's great to have that support from someone like Dennis as a promoter. It's very forward thinking of him.
Yeah. And speaking to Dennis, like the enthusiasm Dennis has got towards the boxers as well, and Steve, that's got to be good for fighters like yourself, because like you said, that everything he's doing is for you guys. Obviously, there's going to be something for Dennis and Steve, but everything virtually is for you guys.
Exactly, and it does give it a really good sort of like family feel. I like that is always there whenever I'm at any of the shows. Everybody knows everybody else, they're all getting on, and everybody's there to put on a good night of boxing and a good night of entertainment for the fans. But they're also their chance to showcase the fighters, because they're the people that have done all the hard work. They're the people that are getting in there to take the punches and give the punches. So it's nice that it feels about the fighters, and that's the important thing, I think.
Yeah, and the one thing that I like about the shows there are upsets, which means that they are competitive fights, because there's nothing worse than going to a show and nothing being competitive. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that there are. You see it on TV shows mostly. Not naming any promoter, but sometimes you see it and you just know what the result is before it's even started.
Exactly, and that's boring, like as a fight fan myself, like I want to go in and say, ooh, I'm excited to see this. If they manage to do this person's I think they'll get the win. However, they could make it difficult with this, and that's what I want to be going to see, those kind of fights, when you're on the edge of your seat because you don't know what's going to happen. We had a fantastic fight like that on Fight Zone, Dan Morley versus Louis Isaacs for the Southern Area title eliminator. It shouldn't have been an eliminator. It should have been for the full title. It was an absolutely epic fight. And the fact that people got to watch that on Fight Zone, and it's a fight you don't normally see as a Southern Area title, so it's down at York Hall. Normally it's just the people at York Hall that see it, but it was so brilliant, and the fact that people could actually tune in to watch that was great, really, really great.
You commentating?
Yeah, I was there. I was there as part. Yeah, well, I didn't get to comment. I wasn't actually commentating on that show, but I was there to watch it, and I was just like, I don't know if I could have commentated. I was so excited about the fight.
I was a bit like that on Saturday night, watching the Wilder and Fury. I was literally sitting on my settee, and it's a wonder the next door neighbours didn't come round, because every punch that Wilder was throwing, I was like, oh, is it him? And I was just getting so excited. And that's what boxing's all about. The fact is, like you said, with the fights on, anything can happen, and them are the fights that you have to see, because them are the fights as well where the favourite can then look back and say, you know what, I probably could have beat him, but I needed to do this, and this. And I know for a fact in future I'll learn doing this, and this. Probably not going to learn nothing if you're just going through fights where you're not being tested for yourself.
Exactly. And also I think it kind of gives people a chance to experience the side of boxing which people don't really think about. Obviously boxing is a sport, but as well, I always think people need to remember that it's sort of 50% in the entertainment industry. So it's your first chance. If you're on Fight Zone and you've never been on TV before, it's the first time you've got all the cameras, you've got all the lights. You know, it's the excitement of actually seeing yourself back when you watch your fight back and stuff like that. You know, watch your walkout tune, and you know, people tuning in from all around the world can watch you, and that's just first. Yeah.
The connection stopped then. So what we were saying is people can watch it from all around the world.
Yeah, and it's the first time that you kind of get introduced to the lights, the camera, and the action, that sort of thing. So it's great that fighters get introduced that early on, because I remember my first worldwide press conference that went out all around the world was when I fought Clarissa in Kansas on a Matchroom card on DAZN. And like the first time I had to stand up on a podium and speak at a press conference, talk to Clarissa, do all of that sort of stuff, was right in a massive fight for multiple world titles. So, you know, like, I would have loved to have had that opportunity earlier on, to have a little practice of that earlier on in my career. So I think fighters will appreciate that later on.
And do you think that's why Clarissa was looking to move to the UFC, because there's no fights out there apart from the Savannah Marshall one? And because it wasn't happening?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, she'd become a multiple weight world champion. She unified like 3 divisions. So, you know, she's done quite a lot of things, and the Marshall fight wasn't happening. And I think she was keen to go across to MMA and push herself. And I think that shows a real sort of bravery as a person, because imagine going from being the top of your game to then being down at the bottom again and being the beginner. So, yeah. You know, I've got a lot of respect for that, because there's a lot of hard work that goes into MMA. I mean, she's obviously got to have great hands and great striking ability, but there's all the ground game takes a lot of learning as well. So a lot of respect to her for that. And I think that's why she went over. She wanted the challenge, wanted something to do, and the Savannah fight wasn't happening. So yeah, I think, and she seems to be buzzing off it. And also the publicity and the money is really good for female fighters in MMA.
Which is, it's not the be all and end all, but it's a lot. That's what you guys do. Then you fight, and you've got to earn your money. So 5th of November, we've got WBA, IBO world title. The undercard, is the undercard going to be mixed, or is it going to be an all-female night?
So it was going to be an all-female night, but however, the card, we're allowed to have more fights on the card. So I think we're splitting it 50-50, which is still quite a big step forward for women's boxing, because normally you always have like the token 1 female fight on the card, or maybe 2. And there's going to be about 5 female fights on the card, which is quite exciting. And the rest will be lads. A couple of people I know, David Jameson, cruiserweight, that'll be really exciting, coming down from Scotland. So he'll be on the card too, which is great. Bit of Scottish teammates there.
Does he have a broader accent than you?
Oh yeah, definitely. But maybe when we're talking together, you'll hear it actually. But yeah, Nathan Mizzen on there as well. So there's some other people on the card, which is going to be quite exciting actually. Good variety for people.
So 5th of November, the final bells rang for the WBA and the IBO world titles. The referee is putting one female's hands up. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Me, of course. Yeah, no doubts. There is no doubts going into this. I've had a fantastic camp. I couldn't be more prepared for this fight. I worked my ass off, to be honest. And this is my time. This one is 100% my time. And it's going to be something really special to win, become a 2 times world champion in London, which is my second home city. So, yeah, I couldn't be more buzzing for it. But 100%, and the new will be me.
And
world champion.
I like it. I like
and
it.
The new.
And I know we don't. I know I shouldn't ask this question, but what would be the dream once you become the new IBO and WBO champion? What would be the dream?
So becoming IBO and WBA is just the start. You know, I want to unify the division. That's my goal. And ultimately, I'd like to become a 2-weight world champion. So there's multiple options there. But for me, the most important thing is getting these 2 titles on the 5th of November. And I haven't really looked past that, to be honest.
No,
so, yeah.
No, I thought
I always set myself big goals. So, you know, no doubt that my next goal is going to be bigger than this one.
No, fantastic. One more question before we go. One of the viewers has asked is, which I think is quite a good question, to be honest. Regardless of what weight you are now, if you could fight any female fighter, who would it be? But you'd have to go down to their weight. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to, but if you could, do you ever look at a female fight and think, if I was their weight, I'd be able to beat them? Or that would be a barnstorming fight?
Oh, well, there's loads of obviously like really, really great fighters, but I would actually have loved to have had a chance to fight boxing. Because she was amazing. Like, obviously, she's in the UFC now, but she was a fantastic fighter, and I would love to have had a chance to fight her. Or Sophie Ann Mathis, that would be amazing as well. Like legends of the sport.
Oh, the connection went. What did you say? Sorry, the connection went then. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So I would love to have had a chance to fight Holly Holm when she was boxing. The preacher's daughter. She's with the UFC now, but like she was a fantastic boxer and somebody that I really admire as a female athlete in general. But I would love to have had a chance to fight her or Sophie Ann Mathis. She was badass as well. So yeah.
And 5th of November, I can't wait to see you lift them 2 titles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.